Hi, welcome back to ITD with Mr. B. Look, we're continuing with our single sheave pulley here. We're up to drawing part number 4, the swivel block, and it's going to look like this when we've got it done. Looking at our drawing, now I found a book that is an earlier version of the book. I think it's probably the first edition from 1973. So this book is older than me, which is fantastic. Not by a lot, but it's older than me and it always will be. Information's exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing from the same people. So yeah, why should it be any different? So how are we going to draw this? Let's have a look at the part first. Really quite important to get familiar with what we're going to be drawing. When I look at it from above, it has it's 99 millimeters wide for this main body in the center here, 99 wide and 100 long, so 50-50 to the center line. It has these two little parts that poke out from the sides, because when we look at it from these two views, we can see that they are cylindrical in shape, they're round. I can see that it has a metric 20 thread on both ends, and another giveaway for that is the double lines that they denote thread. So it's showing the outside of the thread and also the depth of the thread. So these, look, it's got a shoulder here that's 14 mil, 25 of thread. These nuts and washers, we'll worry about them later. On the top, it has this ring, all right, so it sits up like that. It's 6 millimeters in height. And what happens here is that 70 millimeter diameter takes the 70 millimeter diameter of the base of the thrust bearing. Around the top of it here, 80 millimeters, it's taking that 85 millimeter diameter of the inside of the nut. So it's helping to create a barrier for dust and debris to get into that thrust bearing. Okay. The way I'm going to draw this is very much how you see it here. I'm going to put it onto my base plane or top plane, depending on which way you want to look at it. And we'll have the front plane running through this way and that side viewed plane running through there. Okay, well, let's hop into drawing a new part. We'll just minimize that one. All right, so new. Standard millimeter, as always. Bringing up our part and our view space. New sketch. Now, I said I was going to put it on this view here. So, like I said, depending which way you want to look at it, it's either looking from the top or the base. When I bring it in, you can see a little guide up here is this bit that says top. I do actually want to rotate that. So these little arrows up here will rotate my view cube around. So I'm looking straight down onto my XY plane this way and the other one running that way. I'm looking at it this way because when I turn it here, that's the front. Yeah. So that's going to put my drawing space in the same orientation as it is on the sheet we're taking all the measurements from. So 99 wide, 100 long. I've changed my rectangle function. I've changed it from being this normal 2-point rectangle, that's what the default will be, to this 2-point center function. The way this one works is you identify the center first, really quite easy, right on the crosshairs, and then I start to drag out the size that I'm requiring. 99 millimeters wide, then I press the tab button and it flicks it over to the other dimension, 100 millimeters. Hey presto, it's done. Finish my sketch. Actually, you know what? I really should put a hole in the middle of this. I want to do some more work on this sketch. How do I go back to that sketch to add more into it? Just like this. If you double click on the icon, it brings it back in. Be aware though, it will probably rotate it back to its home position. So put it back how we want to be viewing it. In the center, there is a hole It's essentially a clearance hole for a 36 millimeter shaft on the end of the hook. That's a fun one coming up very soon. We'll do that in a few steps. But this hole, it needs to be 36 mil in diameter. 36, enter, and away we go. Now we can finish my sketch. We're going to extrude that up. It needs to come up a height of, well, total height of it's 45 millimeters high, but the ring on the top, it was 6 millimeters tall. So I'm going to take 6 millimeters off, so that brings us back to 39. Now you'll notice it's not automatically popping up and giving us that lovely extrusion straight away. That's because there's two different profiles here. There's the profile that we actually want, so inside the square and outside of the circle. If I put my cursor in the middle of the circle, it's going to project up just the circle. If I put it in that next void out, right, that area in between the square shape and the circle in the middle, that's the bit it's going to extrude. Okay, that's what I want. Next, I need to put a new sketch on top of this. Just simply click on that surface at the top, and it's going to pop up with a whole bunch of icons. And that will let you share that sketch. It can let you edit the original sketch. You can play around with all sorts of bits and pieces in there. The last one on the right is always going to be create a new sketch. I want to draw on this surface. Okay, I'm just going to get into the habit of turning it so it's around the right way. I know I'm looking at it from the right direction. Sitting on top of this, there are two circles, and I alluded to their sizes before. The internal one is 70. By starting the circles on the crosshairs in the very center and identifying that point, it will lock it in and constrain it to that center point. Okay, that's one reason why I drew the base this way. So they're both in. Finish that sketch off, and now I'm going to just extrude up that little section. It doesn't need to be 39, only 6 millimeters for this one. Okay, very good. Next, now look, putting these little shoulders onto this block, you could do it a couple of ways. We could just put a sketch on this surface here and draw on a circle to represent that first part. What was it, 25 in diameter? I can then, this was going to go sideways. No, it's going vertical. Lovely. Line it up with the center, and I can give that a height from that baseline. All right, and I know that's sitting at 20 millimeters. Yep, so finish that one off. Extrude it out. Now it needs to come out 14 millimeters. Yeah. In the center of this one, so I've just clicked on that face, new sketch, another circle. Now this one is going to represent now, see, it won't pick up that center point. It's not turning green. If you show it the existing circle and follow it around slightly, now it recognizes that circle and you want to work with it. So now it's picking up a center point for me, green center point, yay. Center of this one, it's a M20 thread, so the diameter is 20 millimeters. Finish the sketch again and extrude the center of that circle out, a distance of 25 millimeters. Where's 5? There we go. Happy days. I'd like a little chamfer on the end of this because all good threads I have a chamfer on them. It's up on my other screen. Let's bring that over. Chamfer of 2 mil. Right? It's a big enough object to get away with it. Okay. That's that part done. Now I could repeat that same process over here, or I can just mirror it across. So the mirror command, it lives in the pattern area. Mirror. Again, that's on my other screen. Over here, please. Gives us a few options. I can mirror individual features, or I can mirror the entire thing. I want to mirror features. I like to pick up my features from my modeling bar over here. I want that third extrusion for the shoulder, the next extrusion for the threaded section, and I also want to bring over that chamfer. The mirror plane, where does the mirror plane go? Well, I need a plane that runs through the middle of this. Where can I find that? Well, the other reason why I did this drawing on those crosshairs, I can use my YZ plane there to mirror it on, because it was centered on it. And if I hit OK, there we go. It's on. Awesome. Material. It's not a generic clay, plastic, whatever material. It tells us that it is made out of mild steel. So steel, mild. What's with my eyes tonight? Steel, mild. Here we are. Parts of it are going to be machined. This hole, this surface, this one too, and probably the top. These will be machined as well. All right, so we'll hop in here to the surface finish. Let's say, before I do that, I want the whole thing to be yellow. It'll get painted. Control button, which surfaces get machined? That one, that one, that one, and that one. Probably that one, and I'll say the end of that. So rotate it around slightly. That one. Okay, all of those ones. These ones will be honed. Oh, that looks good, doesn't it? That's not much fun at all. Smooth. Oh, here we go. This is better, isn't it? Honed. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that at this point, I must say. So, it is actually a pretty simple shape to draw. There's one thing I haven't put on, is threads. Lucky I noticed now. This is pretty easy, this bit. Look, you should say, look, I want to put a thread. What surface does it need to go on? Check the specification. If it's not in this ANSI metric profile, go and find it. It's not hard. 20 millimeters, yes. Right hand thread, excellent. Apply. I say apply because this one needs it as well. I'm finished with it. Okay. All right. So, swivel block. Go and have a crack at it. See you, people.